Okay, we're live. We're live right now. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Performance Tools Live. We're streaming live on LinkedIn, we're streaming live on Facebook, and also on YouTube. So please just look for the link. The one that suits you, either on Facebook, either on LinkedIn, or either on YouTube. So thank you so much. Let me just say apologies for being away for a while, but we are back fully right now, ready to fire on, ready to to take your questions and all the topics of interest. So I have with me today a wonderful friend, my wonderful friend, Kemi Ogunkoya. Hello, Kemi. Hello.
Hi, doing.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
Hello. How are you doing today?
I am doing phenomenally well. Thank you for having me.
Hello, how are you doing today, Kemi?
I am
Oh,
doing
great.
phenomenally well. I'm doing phenomenally well. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. 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 We're really discussing a wonderful topic of interest today. Let me just a minute. Yeah, that topic is scrolling by the bar, reinventing leadership in organizations. Maybe while we are just waiting for people to join, let me just quickly check the comment part to see if we have any comment yet or if we have people yet. So anywhere you are, just please let us know where you're watching us from, your location. Please let's know. Obafemi Lori, thank you so much. Good to see you both. Another wonderful friend. Oh my God. We'll talk about you later.
It's good
Yeah,
to see
so
you.
uh Yusuf Tijani, keep it up, sir. Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you so much for joining. Please let's know where you're watching from. We're streaming live from Lagos, Nigeria, and this is just a little bit after 4 o'clock here in Lagos, Nigeria. So today, I have with me a leadership development strategist, management consultant like myself, and as well as an author. She's a member of the prestigious Forbes Business Council. For close to a decade right now, Kemi has helped businesses and professionals across the world to bridge leadership gaps and develop the right competencies for their leadership roles. She has successfully worked with over 90, let me not even more than 90 organizations and over 7,000 executives nationally and internationally, helping them to build smart, visionary, and adaptive leadership skills to do their current job more effectively and also transitioning into higher positions seamlessly. Kemi's goal is to raise effective leaders in the world and also to equip leaders to develop the right technology-driven skills to effectively perform in their jobs and businesses. Kemi, thank you so much for honoring my invitation today. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So once again, thank you, all our viewers, wherever you are. Kemi is the founder and CEO of Leader X. We'll talk about Leader X in the course of our conversation. So I just want us to talk around leadership because I know that It's one area you've done a whole lot of work in the last few years. And I know that you've developed a lot of interventions, helped a lot of organizations and all of a lot of individuals around leadership. If we are to start our conversation, maybe I'll just throw this because I know that in the course of this, I'm still going to ask a lot of controversial leadership questions. Yeah. So let me just ask, what triggered your interest in leadership and leadership development generally?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. It's such a great honor and privilege to be here. And, I'm really excited to be on the show. All right. It's been a journey, and I like that you asked the question about a journey. So it's absolutely been a journey. And, as a management consultant, we've been, able to work on quite a number of interventions together. And in the course of quite a number of those engagements, I think one thing was constantly a top burden for me, and it was that you put a lot of work in some of these interventions, come up with a strategy, tight strategy, and then you present strategies. Sometimes you present the work, and at the level of adoption, there's a huge challenge, right? There's a major challenge. Either sometimes implementation, just at the point of implementation, everything just gets thrown out of the window. Or the lack of will, right, to be able to carry out some of
Hmm.
these interventions or making it see the light of day. So I increasingly started getting frustrated at that point, and said, you know what, we don't have a challenge with strategy, right? Because quite a number of people, quite a
Hmm.
number of business leaders, seem to have an idea sometimes about what is expected of them or what they need to fix. But what we lacked was the willingness, and ability to actually make a change and ensure that we make lasting changes that impact the organization positively, and getting from that place of awareness. So I thought of, let's start
Hmm.
working with these leaders, right? Let's start working with these leaders. Let's work on them.
Kemi,
Yes.
sorry, I'm struggling. I'm struggling to hear you.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
struggling to hear you.
You,
Yes. Um, Maybe in just 1 minute,
can you hear me
we
now?
might.
Is it better
Yes,
now?
I can.
Is it
Yes,
better now?
yes.
Okay, okay.
Uh, oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, we're back. Yeah. So please continue. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Can you
Can
hear
you
me?
also hear
Oh,
me?
great,
Yes.
great, great.
Okay,
I
okay,
had
awesome.
this question that what triggered your interest in leadership and leadership development as a whole.
Yeah. So, from that place of frustration and thinking about, okay, where exactly is the challenge, and who do we need to start talking to, who do we need to start working with. And I realized that we needed to get it right from the place of leadership. And when we get it right from the place of leadership, adoption of strategy would not be such a Herculean task anymore. And then that way, we're able to make the job easier for people. We're able to build more, sustainable organizations, and we're
Yes,
able
can
to
you
drive
hear me?
change. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. So, and then that way we're able to drive the sustainable change that we desire within organizations. So, truly, it all rises and falls on leadership. And if we get it right with leadership within the organizations, if we're able to rework the mindset of our leaders, we definitely will be able to achieve great level of success. And I've seen that manifest over and over again.
Awesome, awesome. I like that. It all falls and rises on leadership. I love that. Maybe that takes us to the conversation around looking at the world that we are. That is said to be a world that is said to be VUCA, a world that is volatile, a world that is uncertain, a world that is complex, and a world that is ambiguous. So, but looking at what we have seen, because of all these things, what are your thoughts around reinventing leadership in organizations? I mean, and I'll put the question very, 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 very straight. I remember my conversation with Jacob Morgan, and Jacob Morgan said something very striking. He said, "Doing if there's an alien that comes to the heart today, that takes virtually all the leaders that we have, that we really don't have enough leaders who can take the place of those leaders." And when you look at our organizations, I mean, as a leadership development strategies, what we have seen, or what we tend to see more, is that command and control style of leadership, where a particular leader or managers have the authority. They're the only one who would determine performance, who would determine budget, who would determine a lot of things. The hierarchical leaders. Do you think this style of leadership is still sustainable, given the world that we are in right now, a world that is said to be agile? I mean, in an agile world, where you can't predict what happens next, do you think that kind of leadership management thinking is still very sustainable in this world that we are in?
All right. The straight answer to that is no. All right. And if you take a listen to some of so personally, I've had to have series of conversations, and those conversations are conversations that bore out of frustration, right? There's high level of frustration. And why is this frustration on the rise? Frustration is on the rise because now leaders are experiencing some level of resistance, from the workforce. They're experiencing resistance, and it's something that they are not used to. It's something like that they have never seen before, right? And gone were the days where you throw down, or you force things down the throat of employees. We have a new crop
Yeah.
of young people, young leaders who would question, who would challenge the status quo, who would ask that things are done rightly. So obviously, when you look at sustainability within organization, it would not just be a function of hubris anymore. And hubris means the intoxication of power. It's gone way beyond that. And if
Absolutely.
yeah, and these conversations are on the rise. Now it may seem like the conversation is focusing on Gen Z, Gen Z, Gen Z, but trust me, after all this conversation fades away, we will be dealing with generation alpha, and then there will be another. And the thing is that with every generation that comes, or that is bred in the workplace, is varying levels of expression, different, thoughts and ideologies, thinking, what also
Hmm.
matters to each and every one of these, generation, or we call it generational preferences, is also totally different. So when
Hmm.
leaders are still, holding on to the archaic, we call them the dinosaur leaders, who are still holding on to the old
Hmm.
ways of doing things, who come up with those rigid approaches, who come up with saying things like, oh, this is how we've always done it. There's no way they can
Hmm.
deliver the future of the organization. So, I was just having a conversation with some leaders in an organization just before I came into this session. And one of the leaders said, you know
Hmm.
what? I've had to learn a whole lot. Before, when it had to do with managing my team, I tell them what to do. But now I see that I also have a responsibility to ensuring that they understand, and that clarity has become my responsibility. In fact, it is not a separate
Hmm.
responsibility, it is part of my core responsibility. And that is the thinking
Hmm.
that is changing, because whether we like it or not, we are not going to go we're not going to go in organizations to import people from other planets. If these are the
Planet.
people that we
Absolutely.
are working
Hmm.
with, we need, as leaders, to be flexible, to be agile. And
Hmm.
you talk about the
Hmm.
concept of VUCA. Leaders of today, if you want to, really create sustainable organizations, they need to adopt, the antidote of VUCA. And the antidote of
Hmm.
VUCA is that leaders now have to be able to lead with vision. They have to be able to lead with understanding. And
Hmm.
part of the understanding is the understanding of the nature of diversity in the workplace of today, right? They have to lead
Hmm.
from a place of clarity, and then they have to lead from a place of agility. So the answer:
Hmm.
no, you
Hmm.
cannot afford to, hold on to old ways of doing things. As Peter Drucker says, that, the greatest turbulence in a time of disaster is not the turbulence in itself, it is dealing with yesterday's
Yeah.
logic.
Awesome. Wow. That's explosive. Uh, I like the angle where the dimension, just flipping the other side of it, to say that leaders have to lead just by putting on the antidote of that VUCA, which is to have vision,
Yes.
to have understanding, clarity, and also to be agile. Now, are we when it comes to helping organizations, what approach do you think maybe consultants, maybe leaders themselves can use or can begin to look at when it comes to uh, pushing forward some of these ideas to the new uh, people that are just entering the workforce, the Gen Z that you mentioned right now? What kind of approach do you think leaders can adopt in order to lead these people better as
Yeah.
as as against the generation X and all the baby boomers and all that we have in the workplace?
Okay, all right. So I think the first thing is to come from the place of understanding. Okay, and by understanding, I mean that we need to come from the place where we appreciate the beauty of diversity, and that we're not trying to
Hmm.
minimize the impact and effect of diversity, how it affects, our interrelationship skills, how it affects connectivity at work, how it affects the ability for people to accomplish tasks, and quite a number of things. So I think we want to come from the place of understanding, where you understand that every individual is different. And if I'll throw in, a tool, it's called the wheel of diversity. And on the wheel of diversity, there are quite a number of layers. But then at the core of that wheel is what we call the personality, right? Personality, and everybody's personality is different. We need, as leaders, to be able to understand that at the core of human behavior are sets of characteristics and behaviors that make every one of us different. So leaders have to have that level of understanding, come from the place of awareness of this diversity, and also be equipped, right? They have to be equipped with knowledge of varying expressions of people. Now, when we do that and we're not coming from the place of, bias. So one thing I see that we're
hmm,
constantly doing in the workplace is that we're drawing a line, right? And the line is between they and us. They and us.
hmm,
We need to tear down
hmm,
all of those biases, because they're going a long way to destroying the constructs of, stability and harmony within organizations. So we want to come from the place of understanding and acceptance, and then we want to come from the place of, you know um emotional intelligence when it comes to being able to help people understand the way around. We need to come from the place of emotional intelligence when it comes to, helping people see a different perspective, not by forcing them and say, you know what, in our own time, this is what it used to be like. You guys are so unserious. You're not like me. If I was a person, I'm up till 10, I'm up till 1 a.m. every night. Then every other person is lazy because they are not like me. So I think you just have to, really, and it's quite interesting that we're having this kind of conversation on this magnitude, despite the fact that it seems like we have access to information like never before. But we're not paying attention to this, and these
hmm,
are the things that are frustrating, the balance within organizations and is stalling progress. So understanding, acceptance of diversity, being able to lead with emotional intelligence is critical today more than ever before. There are people who, or there are organizations who have predominantly Gen Z workforce, right? And they are
hmm,
thriving. So we need to let go of all these big lines of bias and actually start to look at people from
hmm,
the place of value, understanding differences,
hmm,
appreciating those differences, and
hmm,
looking at people from the place of value.
hmm. Okay, we'll come back to that, Kemi.
Okay.
Let's just go back to look at what people are saying. Let's say hi to our listeners. I mean, a couple of people have commented. We have Obafemi here. Good to see you both. Yeah. We have TJ. Keep it up, sir. Thank you. Adegoke Sholanke. Good job, Adedoyin Adebayo. Thank you, Goke. Uh, we have Ugochukwu Ogbuaku here. Hey, Chief. John Okafor watching from Lagos, Nigeria. I just want us to say hi to our people. Obo Victor, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. Thank you for allowing me. Timmy, thank you so much. Yes, there's a question here. I don't want us to miss some of the questions that we have here. Let's look at uh, Elijah Akintoday's question. Yes. Elijah says, so how do leaders respond constructively to the emerging questioning and challenging approach of the Gen Z staff while still asserting one's authority? Yeah,
Okay.
that's an interesting question. Did you want to attempt it, Kemi? Mhm.
Okay. All right. All right. So I think when it comes to um questions, when people ask questions, give them answers, right? When people ask questions, give them answers. So let me bring it home. Let me bring it
Hmm.
home just a little bit, right? And relate this to even parenting. Now, gone were the days where you are telling a child, I don't want you to do this, right? I don't want you to do that. Do not go there. You need to sit here till I return. They would ask you, why do I have to sit there? And if you cannot provide answers to them, they don't see the need to listen to you anymore. So it's not different from what we will see in the workplace, because there's a huge change happening. There's a huge change happening already, right? And these changes are born out of the changes that we also see in the society at large. So I don't think that there's anything wrong in people questioning and challenging. And I think the fact that some people, maybe in particular generation, have been used to this no questioning, no challenging, it is what would make quite a number of leaders to feel some form of resentment towards employees who dare to ask questions. So because we have not been used to it does not mean that we cannot adapt to it. This is the reality. You will be asked questions. In this reality of VUCA, you will be asked questions. And we need to let go of that mindset that the leader is the alpha and omega. We need to step away from the intoxication of positional leadership. Leadership has evolved. The requirement for sustainable, effective leadership has evolved. And so does the mindset of the leader have to evolve. I said that the era of dinosaur leadership, where there's no questioning, where you tell people what to do and then they do it without asking why, has gone. Right. So you need to, as leaders, get to the point, and I think that as leaders, we need to get to the point where we get comfortable with the fact that you are a leader. But what makes you a leader is not just the position that you occupy. We would find that people constantly want to assert authority when they feel that all that they have in their arsenal of leadership is a position. When you know that it is beyond position, when you know that what you need to be wielding is influence, then you will not have any problem, responding to questions or being challenged. That's the reality of today's world. And we see it in the workplace. I'm doing interviews sometimes, bringing people on board, and they're asking you questions. They're asking you questions like, so what time, do I would you be calling me over the weekend? All right. How would you want to be addressed? Would you want me to call you by your first name? These are things that may shock, certain people, but you need to get to expand your scope of the world. You need to get to appreciate the beauty of generational changes and how it has impacted our decision making, how it has impacted our lifestyle, how it has impacted the things that are of importance to us. And you would also see that now people are not just coming to work because of the money anymore. It goes way beyond the money. People are leaving seemingly secure jobs to say, you know what, I'm just going to go find some time to deal with my mental health. Okay, so that era has passed where it was just carrot and stick. Now people want to work in a place where they feel appreciated. They want to work within healthy cultures. They want to work in places where they're being treated with dignity. They want to work in places where they have a voice. And if this organize now, does it mean that you know, leaders are responding to every whim and every call? No. There has to be assertiveness. We have to have boundaries. We have to have systems in place to checkmate bad behavior. But at the same time, we need to understand that the world is evolving, the people in it are evolving, and the leaders also have to evolve accordingly.
Awesome. 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 I love that statement. We need to step away from that positional leadership. I mean, let me just add one or two things to it. Yeah, today's workers basically, they don't want to be micromanaged. Yes. They don't want strict scrutinization, by their managers. And one thing is that, like Kemi said, if you don't understand these people that you are leading, you just find out that one day you really don't have people to lead anymore. Because one way or the other, talent working in your organization, by the time they don't go with your style of leadership, one way or the other, you just see them jumping ship. And they start
True.
looking for organizations where they have more autonomy. Yeah, where they have more autonomy, where they have more respect, where they have more you know, and ownership. Yeah, basically. Yeah, just to add that. Yeah, I understand this, Kemi, but there's a there's a style out there, or there's a because we work with a lot of organizations, and I know you agree with me. Um, how possible how possible do you think an organization can implement something like a self-leading team where people can lead themselves? Or
Yeah.
maybe I should say this. Let me ask this instead. Do we really need more managers, more leaders in our organization?
I didn't get the question. Do we need more leaders or managers? Is that what you?
Yes. Do we really need more leaders in our organizations? And
The
I'm
mm,
asking that question. Okay, yeah, you go ahead.
okay. The answer to that is simply yes. So I think we have focused on leadership as just being those at the very top of the organization, right? We have just focused our
Yes.
attention on those at the very top as the leaders within the organization. And it's important
Mm,
that those are some of the things that we need to start reimagining when it comes to this conversation around leadership. That we are building
mm,
capacity within and across. We are developing
mm,
leaders at every level within the organization. And sometimes when I talk about this, people say, so if we now build all leaders, then who are going to be the followers? And I laugh a lot when I hear such questions, because you know not everybody is going to lead in the same capacity at the same time. So if you bring it to the home front, for
mm,
example, you may have certain people who have certain positions to lead. Now, does that absolve any other person in the
mm,
family from stepping up to the place of leadership? Absolutely not. What exactly is this conversation around
mm,
leadership? Leadership is influence. Leadership is about you delivering results.
mm,
And when Justin Menks in his book Executive Intelligence spoke about the three characteristics or three determinants of effective leadership. He spoke about one, the ability for people to be able to deliver their tasks, achieving an accomplishment of tasks. The second was the ability to work with and through people, working with and through people. And then the third is the ability for leaders to be able to effectively and accurately judge themselves and self-correct behavior. Okay, so if we're looking at that, then don't we need people at every level within the organization to be able to develop this competence, right? So I think that we need more leaders. In fact, we need more leaders today than ever before. We need more people
mm,
take responsibility from where they are, so that it lightens up the burden even at the top. If we are not developing the capacity of
mm,
people at different levels within, then it means that the burden of leadership at the top is going to keep increasing. We're going to have a lot of burnout. We're going to have a lot of
mm,
incompetence even at the top, and organizations will
mm,
struggle to deliver on their
mm,
goals, their objectives, as the case may be. But when we decentralize this essence of, leadership just is those at the very top, and we start to groom leaders from the very beginning, right? We start to develop people from the very beginning. We get them entrenched into the vision. They understand the mission. We create a culture and an environment that is healthy enough to help them take ownership. We invest in their capacity building, right? We create systems in place that are fair, systems in
mm,
place that are objective. It goes a long way to help us build sustainable businesses. So I say
mm,
that we need more leaders. We need to invest in more leaders, and that we need to step away from this understanding that leadership is for certain people within the organization. We need to demystify leadership
mm,
within organizations and make people step up into the place of leadership.
mm. I love that. We need to demystify leadership. I love that, and that takes us to quickly talk about some of the work or some of the things that you have done. I know you've written a book, The Goal Mastery. You've also written a book, The Leadership Guardian. Can you take us through the central idea around the leadership guardian? I mean, I'm so much, it's one book that I haven't read, but of course, I'm going to read it. So take us through the dozen model of leadership.
Okay.
How can we apply the dozen model? I mean, we may not you may not be able to talk about the each element of the dozen model. Maybe the most important element of the dozen model. Let's talk around
Okay.
that.
Okay, okay, all right, all right. So the concept of the leadership guardian is pretty much about, you know, looking at a time like this, right? And a time in the future
Hmm,
where it seems like we are having a leadership gap, and the
hmm,
leadership gap is increasingly getting wider, right?
hmm,
And people are not taking their place of leadership. So for the leadership guardian, it was important that we started to, drive conversation around the place of awareness where people demystify this concept of leadership, where we democratize the essence of leadership, and more people are able to see themselves as leaders, beyond this idea of leadership being a position, with beyond the idea of leadership being a function of your bank account, your years of experience, or whatever family that you have been bred from. It goes way beyond that. The concept of the leadership guardian states that leadership is a shapeless phenomenon. And when we say that leadership is shapeless, it means that irrespective of your size, irrespective of your age, irrespective of your educational status, irrespective of your gender, irrespective of your religion, you can lead and lead effectively from where you are. So one of the major concepts in the book actually drives towards what we call the dozen model. And the dozen model is a leadership framework that I developed that has 12 key elements. And of course, these elements were drawn from years of experience and research. And those elements include: one, clarity, that without effective clarity, without clarity, we're going nowhere. So clarity, character, competence, commitment, connection, confidence, communication, consequence, consistency, critical thinking, consideration, and community are those 12 key elements of effective leadership that we have captured in the dozen model. And when leaders are able to move from spectrum to spectrum of each of these elements, they're able to develop this 360 degrees approach to leadership, where we're talking about speed, agile, effective and efficient leadership, right? And that
hmm,
when leaders are able to adopt these elements, and this framework, this model, they're able to accelerate their leadership competence. Because for us, it's about being able to help leaders thrive in their current roles and also seamlessly prepare them for higher positions. So constantly accelerating their leadership competence, helping people get to the point of seeing themselves as leaders, helping them demystify this concept, helping them understand that, yes, some people might be born with certain qualities that suit them for leadership, but everyone
leadership.
can
Hmm,
learn, to become a better leader. Everyone can develop the muscles for leadership, and then they can also thrive as leaders.
hmm.
So that's the essence of the leadership guardian. So when we have one guardian,
Guidance.
that guardian bets other guardians of leadership, but then we're able to
Oh.
stand, to our place of leadership.
Hmm. Awesome. More like leaders developing leaders. So
Absolutely.
you have a leader, a guardian, then another guardian, it gives birth to another guide, on and on like that,
Absolutely.
until we have a better organization, better businesses, better society, better leaders, better
Oh yeah.
family,
Oh yeah.
and
That's
all
it.
of that.
That's it. That's it.
Awesome. Awesome, 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 awesome. Maybe you may want to drop the website where people can get the leadership guidance. I know that, or I mean, you may drop it in the comments comment part of the uh, where people can get the website, get the book, maybe the website where they can purchase the book or something.
Okay. Okay.
Awesome, awesome,
Right. It's available on
awesome.
www.theleadershipguardian.com.
Oh, just a minute.
www.theleadershipguardian.com.
Let me type it.
Uh, uh,
the leadership, the
Yes.
leadership
Guardian.com. Yeah.
guardian guardian.com. I'm just trying to see. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's
leadership
it.
guardian.com. Wow. Yeah, the leaders. Awesome. Thank you, Ines Falade. Yeah, thank you for joining. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's the end of our show today. I want to appreciate you so much, Kemi, for honoring my invitation. And I know
Okay.
that any time I call upon you, I'm sure you'll be willing to come and talk about your work, your research around leadership, right?
Sure, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so that's the end of today's conversation. Some other time we'll talk around a topic of interest. And if you have any topic that you want to drop for us to talk around, please go to the comment section and drop your topic. We'll pick it up and we'll invite someone who can also help us do a deep dive into that conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
thank you, thank you, thank you. Mm,
All right.
it's all
Bye.
right.
All right.
Bye.